Welcome to Dr. TSPR show. This is Dr. Tangella Shiva Prasad Reddy alias Dr. TSPR. Namaste, Adab, hello. We are 13 minutes precisely late. You have to pardon us. Though late, we are coming with the latest because we have a very honored guest. It took some time to convince and get hold of him to come on live. That is none other than Mr. Kapil Bajaj. He is an independent journalist and a blogger. Very well known, not just in India, worldwide. So he has joined us from Noida, Delhi. So welcome to this special show, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
The gist of the show, I'll just try to go through and then we will speak to Mr. Kapil Bajaj. I'll just show you the poster, what we are... this is the most famed, I only hope, yeah. Oh. Center sheds health mission gate on Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The center has shut the gate on the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on a critical national health mission and possible conflict of interest issues arising from the foundation ties with pharmaceutical companies is one of the reasons. Kindly mark these words. This is from the central government, not we are trying. They say possible conflict of interest issues arising from the foundation's ties with pharmaceutical companies is one of the reasons Mr. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, at least India has opened up. But is it really so? Are they still following the dictates? Ek haath se liya, ek haath se diya. Is it such a type of formula? Then why did India take so much of time? This is a big question now in every Indian citizen's mind. Is it not a fact that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has been dictating Indian public health, or else the public health is enslaved and redirected by this foundation and the so-called the neo-rich of the world? How pathetic. We are a democracy, our people participatory constitutional democracy. That is why right from pandemic we have been demanding where is the information, where is the data. Without providing anything, lockdowns, money, the way they want, lockdowns, mandates the way they want, no scientific reason, no data, and vaccine mandates, whatever it is, mask mandates and restrictions. Believe me, today is January 20th, 2022. We are still under emergency use authorization, only God knows why. And we are spending our money, tax money, for everything. And in turn, these neo-rich having vested interest, conflict of interest with pharmaceutical companies. That is why we have been crying hoarse. This pandemic is being extended just to benefit pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, and behind these all big babus, Bill and Melinda Gates and so many others, which Mr. Kapil Bajaj will expose. All financial ties of the country's apex immunization advisory body, National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization, NTAGI, with the Gates Foundation have been cut off. This is where Dr. Arora, we have challenged Honorable Prime Minister also, we demanded action against Dr. Arora. In second phase, he quoted many deaths were in the age group of 15 and 17. We demanded a paper basing on which they have gone for vaccines for children. Yeah, horrible. When NTAGI other members, like Mr. Jayaprakash Mulyal and all, they have all differed. They said no deaths in that age group and there is no need. They already attained natural herd immunity, being part of the same family. But they kept quiet because we could expose that. Now they have come out with this. NTAGI Secretariat will now be fully funded by the central government. The Health Ministry confirmed to ET. NTAGI Secretariat was so far being serviced through Gates Foundation funded Immunization Technical Support Unit at the Public Health Foundation of India. This is a big news, and you will come to know what this Immunization Technical Support Unit and Public Health Foundation of India is all about. You have seen how Nipah virus was tested in Kerala. The Kerala government, all those political parties have to come out clean now. They have just shown to the world what all this thing is all about. All of a sudden, they freeze your freedom. They try to create fear psychosis, and that was just an experiment, I feel. Because now you have seen on your screen, the government has woken up at last. Then what were they doing all these years? Who has to answer this? And who should be prosecuted? Because it is public health here. Health is wealth. What is this nonsense going on in this country? ET has learned that the government decision was informed by, among other factors, arguments from senior medical professionals and outfits like Swadeshi Jagran Manch. That's what we are asking. Where are you, Swadeshi Jagran Manch? Why not you promote Indian traditional medicine, Ayurveda? Anandayya's Ayurveda Corona medicine. Yesterday also Professor Krishnaya, task force, they clearly underlined and prompted national Indian government to utilize Ayurvedic medicines for children too, as a preventive, as a cure also. Or then why they did not heed to that? Are these vaccines Swadeshi? Jagran Manch, you have to say, where is the pandemic? Which disease is more dangerous? Swadeshi Jagran Manch has to answer now. Is it TB, malaria, dengue, typhoid, or corona for Indians, COVID-19? Swadeshi Jagran Manch, kindly do research on this. And then why this Indian government and all the state governments, all the political parties are behind this pandemic and supporting vaccination, which are still being used under emergency use authorization, spending our money, our tax money, public money, without liability and compensation. What is mystifying is the Supreme Court to High Courts, they have put these petitions, public interest litigation petitions, on trial. But after that, last January 2020, everything was normal. Herd immunity was setting in, community transmission was happening. All of a sudden, our Honorable Prime Minister, like what he has done on December 25th, 2020, announces the vaccines. After that, Delta variant, so many. Don't you think, is it not because of vaccines? Now again, what made our Prime Minister to go for booster when the first dose did not work? Why did you go for second dose? When second dose did not work, why are you going for booster? And not only that, why children are being put under strain and families being blackmailed when you are opened up cinema theaters, air conditioned theaters, very clearly told it spreads like anything. And cinema theaters, all AC offices, they are all functioning well. Election rallies, lakhs of people, no problem. But when it comes to school and colleges, they are closed. Now this drama, this phase is drama and competition between politicians and cinema celebrities. All of a sudden, they get corona. From where did they get corona? Omicron, we have exposed through this channel. The discoverer, Dr. Angelina Coetzee, very clearly said it is very mild, not to panic, no RT-PCR or rapid, it has to be genome sequenced, but with clinical symptoms. Then they went away. Now they started with COVID-19, new drama. In spite of knowing almost entire India through community transmission has attained herd immunity, now just to sell these vaccines through such companies, through such organizations like Bill and Melinda Gates foundations, don't you think Indian and all state governments, all political parties are indulging in creating another fear psychosis so that people are again put behind in the houses in the name of the archaic Epidemic Act and Disaster Management Act? They have to understand every citizen is a constitutional authority. The taxes paid by the people with which the state and central governments run, then how is that they are trying to create a fear psychosis? That is the reason why we wanted to expose what is the truth behind all this through Mr. Kapil Bajaj. Yes, sir. The floor is yours. You can straight away go ahead.
Yeah, so I think you started with this news which came in February 2017 when actually the government of India ended this relationship between the Gates Foundation and PHFI on the one hand, and the the secretariat to the NTAGI, the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization, on the other.
Yeah.
So this is just one of the many relationships that the Gates Foundation and PHFI has with the government of India, and so I think this relationship started in 2012. It seems there was an agreement or MOU between the Health Ministry and the Gates Foundation and the PHFI. So PHFI was made the secretariat of the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization, and PHFI, as we all know, is actually was promoted by the Gates Foundation, and it was set up in 2006. And the Gates Foundation became the funder of this secretariat of the NTAGI. So, which means that basically the entire the work of the NTAGI was actually given over to the Gates Foundation through the Gates Foundation itself, as well as through the PHFI. So PHFI, Public Health Foundation of India, was made the secretariat of the National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization in 2012, and Gates Foundation was funding this secretariat. So that is just one instance of this whole capture of the India's immunization program by the Gates Foundation, as well as the overall capture of the public health system of India. So in 2017, in February 2017, we had this news that the government of India has ended the relationship between the secretariat to the NTAGI. This secretariat was called ITSU, Immunization Technical Support Unit. So Immunization Technical Support Unit was housed in PHFI. Now, despite this thing, so from 2012 or 2013 to 2017, it's the Bill Gates who was actually handling, directly handling, the Apex Committee, NTAGI, which actually NTAGI decides all the, vaccinations for entire India. I mean, the vaccinations that are used in the universal immunization program, the vaccinations that are administered to our infants who are born every, 2.5 crore infants, as well as about 3 crore, pregnant women. So it's a very crucial kind of body of the government of India, NTAGI, and the entire work of that body was actually gifted to or given over to the Gates Foundation. But if you look at the situation today, you will find that almost all the key people in NTGI continue to be associated with Gates Foundation. So this ending of relationship in 2017 amounted to nothing, because the people associated with the Gates Foundation and PHFI continue to control the NTAGI and the entire immunization program of India. For example, VK Paul, Dr. VK Paul continues to be on NTAGI. He's associated with PHFI. So he has been associated with PHFI and he continues to be on the NTAGI. Then you have Dr. N.K. Arora. Dr. N.K. Arora continues to be a key person in NTAGI. I think he chairs the NTAGI and he continues to be associated with Gates Foundation. So N.K. Arora has been associated with the Incline Trust International also, which was actually, set up by the Rockefeller Foundation. So so all the key people in NTGI continue to be, associated with the Bill Gates. Then you have this ITSU, Immunization Technical Support Unit, the secretary of NTAGI. And ITSU has this guy called Dr. Pritu Dhalaria. Dr. Pritu Dhalaria is also associated with the Gates Foundation. So all the key people who actually control NTAGI and India's immunization program, the vaccination, not immunization, I should call it vaccination program, because vaccination is quite different from immunization. So, so all the people who control India's this vaccination program continue to be associated with Bill Gates. So, if you, this is just one aspect, as I said. Now, you will find PHFI people in all the key, committees and commissions on public health of Government of India. So PHFI itself is a sort of the capture of not just the Government of India, but the Republic of India, I should say, because it was set up by Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh in 2006, and it was an entirely illegal body, unlawful body. I should call it a criminal entity, and it was set up as a public-private partnership, a so-called public-private partnership, which it is not actually.
Shall I share that?
And
Shall I share the document?
yeah.
That is in the first letter?
Yeah, you could.
Is this the letter? Is this the one? No.
No, this is actually a letter which talks about.
Yeah, I'll come to the 2006.
There is a. Yeah, this relates to 2018. I mean, there was this relationship between PHFI and the Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute in Trivandrum, and it is again a fraudulent, corrupt relationship. Which was one of the DST secretaries in the Science and Technology Ministry. His name is Ashutosh Sharma, who actually facilitated this relationship. And so this is about that. And this is just one instance of how the PHFI, the criminal club, I call it the Gates Rockefeller Criminal Club, PHFI, which was implanted in the Government of India in 2006, how it has captured, the entire public health system of India. And this Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute actually is an autonomous institute in Kerala under the Ministry of Science and Technology. And there was this, they had a relationship, they formed a relationship, the PHFI and this Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute. And again, something which was pulled off with the help of the people in the government, like the DST, Department of Science and Technology Secretary Ashutosh Sharma. So we actually blew the whistle on this. I wrote an article in 2018, and we also actually, filed a complaint in 2018 with the Government of India against this corrupt relationship, and how basically Ashutosh Sharma, who was the secretary of DST, and he wrote a letter to this lady, Asha Kishore, and to facilitate this relationship with PHFI. And he was also sitting as a member of the board of PHFI. He was also sitting in the board of PHFI at that time. And when we asked the Government of India who authorized him, did the ministry authorize him to actually be on the board of PHFI? And we found that the Government of India, the ministry had no answer. So his presence on the board of PHFI itself is a mystery, and the government never authorized that. And he was actually writing an email to Asha Kishore, the head of this institution, Sri Chitra, to facilitate this relationship between Sri Chitra and PHFI. So this is a kind of corrupt kind of goings on between people who were sitting on the board of the government of India secretary who was sitting on the PHFI without any authorization, and then the DGA secretary writing a letter to Asha Kishore to form this relationship.
You mean to say,
So
Mr.
this
Kapil
complaint
Bajaj,
actually went.
you mean to say the first
So I
trial,
made a
the first trial of Nipah virus started there with this, something like that.
Yeah, so there has been a complete capture of the public health system at the central government level as well as at the state government level.
Levels, yeah.
So PHFI was formed. The main promoters was Bill Gates and the Rockefeller Foundation and the Wellcome Trust and the Big Pharma, the Tata Trust, the Infosys Foundation.
I'll show that. I think you have the this thing. I think shall I show that? I think it is there in this. Is this the one? You have asked for PH funding and all, so they did not come. Is this the one? No. I just saw the board of directors. Yeah. Is this the one? Executive Committee Chairperson Narayana Murthy, Founder Infosys Limited, then ex officio Secretary, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Mr. Professor K.
Yeah, I think this must be their the composition of their governing board of PHFI in 2018. I think in February 2018 when I wrote my article.
Yeah.
I mean, my first article was published in 2011, and I continued to write articles until the end of 2012, and then I stopped, and then I again, published an article in 2014, and then again I wrote in 2018 another article in 2018, and that article actually elicited a defamation notice from PHI, a 2.5 crore, legal notice that I received from PHFI. So they threatened to, file a lawsuit against me for writing all these articles, and they wanted me to, delete all these articles and pay them 2.5 crore.
Where,
So
which
I
was that?
replied to that,
You sent me
legal
that mail,
notice,
no?
And after that, they did not file a lawsuit.
When did they do that?
That is in 2018. May 2018, I received that legal notice from PHFI. And my blog has been, blocked. I was threatened that they are going to take legal action against me again in 2020 after this corona fraud was imposed on India. And in 2020, I was threatened by PHFI, and then in 2021, that is in May, they blocked my blog, my blog site, kd4u.blogspot.com. So that was blocked, censored. And then I put all my content on some another site, so my articles are still available. And I am also getting my website made. So maybe shortly I will have my own website. So I'll be putting all the content there.
Yeah, I'm showing whatever you have sent.
But still my content is accessible.
Yeah, I'm showing them whatever content. The Prime Minister launches Public Health Foundation of India. Need to bridge gaps in human resources.
This was launched launched in March 2006. So it was actually PHFI was registered by 8 gangsters, and one of them was Rajat Gupta, who was the chairman of McKinsey, who was the head of the McKinsey, the managing director of McKinsey Global, and he was also an office bearer, an office holder in Gates Foundation. He was the chairman of the global development, program of the Gates Foundation. So Rajat Gupta was the guy, who was, the main, the person, used by the Gates Foundation to, start this whole project of subversion of India's public health system. So Rajat Gupta became the first chairman of PHFI. So 8 people who registered PHFI in February 2006 were Rajat Gupta and Gautam Kumra and Prashant Vasu of McKinsey. Then there were 2 officials of the government of India. One was K. Srinath Reddy. So K. Srinath Reddy was the chairman, was the head of the cardiology department at All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Delhi. He, K. Srinath Reddy is the son of a Congress politician, you know, who was also the governor of a number of states, and so he was K. Srinath Reddy is from a Congress family. He is a son of a Congress politician, and he was also heading the official medical team of Manmohan Singh, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. So he became the first president of, or the chief executive officer of this criminal entity PHFI. So he was also one of those 8 people who registered PHFI in February 2006. And another was Ashok Alexander. So Ashok Alexander was the head of the Indian branch of the Gates Foundation, and he was also one of those 8 people. And there were 2 corporate lawyers among those 8 people. So these 8 frontmen and gangsters registered PHFI in February 2006, and Government of India people, and another was obviously, another was the head of the CSIR, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Raghunath Mashelkar. So Raghunath Mashelkar was another of those 8 people who registered PHFI. So Mashelkar was the head of the CSIR and the secretary level official of the Government of India. He was secretary to the Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. So these 8 people registered PHFI in February 2006, and these Government of India officials had no business actually registering an entity, which will work in public health, because that is against the rules. That is against the civil services rules. So this was a criminal operation starting in February 2006, and very next month, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh launched this PHFI in a gala function in New Delhi, with the invitees included Amartya Sen and people from the Harvard School of Public Health, etc., and Rajat Gupta and all these people, and people from the Gates Foundation. So this criminal entity was launched by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in March 2006, and in his speech itself, Manmohan Singh, seemed to have given away the entire public health system to these people. The people who actually were in control of PHFI, which is the Gates Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation and the Wellcome Trust and the Big Pharma and the Tatas and the Infosys Foundation and Shiv Nadar and the American Deep State, because American Deep State was very heavily involved in the formation of PHFI. PHFI also got funding from USAID, which is the international aid program of the American government, which is USAID is actually considered a front for CIA, the American Intelligence Agency. So they also provided funding to PHFI. So this is how so PHFI was actually an American deep state operation. If you go back to 2006, you can trace its origins to 2004. So if you look at the WikiLeaks, you will find a mention of PHFI. So the American ambassador in New Delhi was actually writing to Washington and saying that it was first suggested by the health minister in the Vajpayee government in 2004, and Sushma Swaraj, and she suggested to the American ambassador that we should have some kind of Indo-American body in public health, and she made the suggestion. And after that, the government actually, the term of the government ended in 2004, and then came the Manmohan Singh government in 2004, and after that, the American embassy here actually started some kind of consultation on this public health body that should be set up, um, Indo-American public health body, and they called a meeting of all the public health experts, and a number of them participated in it, and after that, they decided to set it up. So it seems that the government of American government was directly involved in setting up PHFI, and also borne out by the fact that USAID, which is considered a front of CAI, actually provided initial funding. So in PHFI, the Gates Foundation provided 65 crore of initial funding, and the government of India provided the same amount. And then there are a number of other entities which provided funding, like Rockefeller Foundation and the Tatas and the Infosys Foundation, USAID, etc. So I think they had an initial corpus of about 400 crore, and this body was set up, and they wanted to set up branches across India in a number of states. So initially they wanted to set up their branches, the public health schools in Hyderabad, in United Andhra Pradesh, and in Gandhinagar in Gujarat, in Odisha, in Bhubaneswar in Odisha, and in Delhi. So the chief ministers of these states were very much, helpful, and the YSR Reddy, the chief minister of United Andhra Pradesh, actually helped them set up the branch in Hyderabad. Narendra Modi, the then chief minister of Gujarat, helped set up a branch of PHFI, which is called Indian Institute of Public Health, in Gandhinagar, and Naveen Patnaik, the chief minister of Odisha, helped set up a branch of PHFI in Bhubaneswar, and Sheila Dikshit, the Congress chief minister in Delhi, helped set one in Delhi. So all these chief ministers actually provided them money, land, and everything free of charge. So so this is how you can see that it's the Congress government, the UPA government in 2006, a coalition government, which helped set up this criminal entity, and so all the parties helped actually in UPA constituents, including the left parties. And then there were people in the BJP, like the Narendra Modi, who helped establish PHFI in India by setting up one branch of it in Gandhinagar. So this PHFI actually represented a capture of not just the public health system, but because you can see that it's not only the health ministry which helped set up PHFI, it was also the science and technology ministry, it was also the planning commission. Montek Singh Ahluwalia has been on the board of PHFI for a long time, right from the start. So Montek Singh Ahluwalia was one of the conspirators who set up this criminal entity, and PMO was helping them. So PMO was helping them, Yojana Ayog, the planning commission, was helping them, health ministry was helping them, science and technology ministry was helping them. NAC was National Advisory Council of Sonia Gandhi. So Sonia Gandhi has been a promoter of PHFI, because you can find people in PHFI who are also sitting in the National Advisory Council. So right from Sonia Gandhi to a number of ministries were helpful in setting up PHFI, and so this PHFI actually represented, and all the billionaire class of India. The billionaire class, the Tatas and the Narayan Murthy's and the Nandan Nilekanis and Shiv Nadars. You will find the who's who of India's billionaire class on the governing board of PHFI. Even Godrej is there. Anand Mahindra has been a chairman of PHFI once. So all these people you will find on the governing board of PHFI. So this actually PHFI represented a complete, uh, replacement of a democratic setup by an oligarchic setup. So it was set up as a super entity uh, on the Republic of India, basically something that had powers beyond the powers of the government and unquestionable powers. If you ask any question about PHFI or you file any complaint with the government of India about PHFI, you will not find any answer from the government of India, any response from the government of India. Your query or your complaint will be sent directly to the PHFI. So that is the kind of power that PHFI has always had, and PHFI actually prepared the ground for not just the complete capture of India's public health, but also this corona fraud. Because now that this medical martial law that we are living under for the last 22 months is the work of PHFI, the complete capture of the public health system as well as other departments of the government of India. And and you can see the entire political spectrum of India, the entire political spectrum, not just the UPA government then, but also the BJP people, the political parties in the opposition who were helping them. So that is why this capture actually represented an oligarchic kind of rule in India, where all the billionaires, in India as well as from abroad, were actually given this place upon the Republic of India. Something, the powers, unelected, powers upon the Republic of India. So this is the kind of oligarchic rule that started, and complete erosion of our democratic setup that we saw in the setting up of PHFI, in its functioning. So then you have all the ministries and commissions which had people from PHFI, including Sonia Gandhi's National Advisory Council, including the Universal Health Coverage Group, the high-level group on universal health coverage set up in 2010 by the Planning Commission, Montek Singh Ahluwalia, who was also sitting on the board of PHFI. So PHFI was made a secretariat of that group. A criminal entity that was, posed as a public-private partnership, which it was not, because when we asked for some kind of agreement between them, PPPs, implies that the government of India should have some kind of agreement on paper with these gangsters like Gates Foundation and Rockefeller Foundation, who was the promoter of PHFI. So government of India had no such agreement. They could not show any records, any agreement, anything on paper that they signed with PHFI. So it was not even a PPP. So the government of India had been lying right from the start about PHFI. A parliamentary panel actually asked them questions about PHFI, a Rajya Sabha panel, and they asked them about, what is this PHFI all about? And the Manmohan Singh government, responded that this is a public-private partnership, and they are going to work on health education and research, etc. But this was a misrepresentation. Actually, this government, this entity was given, the powers of the government of India. This entity was PHFI was the people from PHFI were sitting in all the health committees of government of India, and they were given the powers of the government of India. So the National Rural Health Mission was controlled by PHFI people. All the committees, the universal health coverage, NTAGI, and everything. And it continues to be the case now. If you look at this COVID committee that is managing the government of India's response to this so-called fake pandemic, this basically fake pandemic, you can see that it's the PHFI people who are sitting in the COVID committee, the ICMR COVID committee, like this K. Srinath Reddy, who is the president of PHFI. He's sitting there. To today, even today, like Niti Ayog, the member health of Niti Ayog is Dr. B.K. Paul, again linked to PHFI, associated with PHFI. So it's the PHFI people you will continue to find in all the key committees of the government of India. And they are the ones who are, managing this so-called response to this fake pandemic and all the vaccination, vaccination program of the government of India related to COVID. So it's a complete capture, and not just of public health, but this is like giving, implanting a criminal oligarchic body upon the Republic of India, which has been actually controlling the Republic of India across ministries, not just health ministry, but a number of ministries. So that is the kind of power that Public Health Foundation of India has over the Republic of India. Yeah.
But what is the direct attachment of day-to-day takes on this pandemic, or before that also healthcare? Now they are coming up with digital cards now.
Yeah, so public health has been weaponized, and public health, the entire meaning of public health as community health, something that a community manages on its own, a democratic space. So that entire meaning of public health has been perverted by these globalist criminals like Bill Gates and Rockefellers. So this all started in, actually it has been going on for decades, obviously. I mean, whereas Rockefeller Foundation has an influence on this so-called modern medicine for a long time, for the last 100 years. But if you look at the last 20 years or so, you will find that they carved a domain called global health. It's the global health which is actually imperialism, global imperialism, which was imposed in the name of public health by the Rockefeller Foundation and Gates Foundation, etc. And it resulted in the complete capture of the multilateral bodies, the UN bodies like WHO, as well as the democratic governments in the world, like the government of India. So global health is a domain which is another name for basically a global imperialism, which was actually carved in late 90s, and from the start of this century. And there were a number of WHO commissions, like the WHO Commission on Macroeconomics in Health, which was set up in 2000. And one of the members of that commission was Manmohan Singh, who was then in opposition and later became the Prime Minister of India in 2004. So you can see this attempt at using the so-called pandemics as the main tool for terrorizing populations, and then responding to those pandemics by all these fascist measures that we are seeing now, right from 2000. So there was this bird flu, there was this swine flu, and then you have this corona and all these things. So they actually captured all the important health institutions of the world, the multilateral institutions, as well as the health ministries and everything. So there was another, and as part of that, you had this. They set up this criminal entity called PHFI in India, in the name of public-private partnership. So public-private partnership has been a policy tool, and public-private to capture basically the democratic government, to subvert democratic space. So public-private partnership has been the main tool to capture the multilateral institution like WHO as well as the governments. Uh, so you can see that another WHO commission was set up in 2005 when Manmohan Singh had already become the Prime Minister, and that was called the WHO Commission on Social Determinants of Health. And you had Amartya Sen there, who was also on PHFI board. You had this Mirai Chatterjee from Seva, Ahmedabad. You know, this self-employed women's association. She was on that WHO commission, and she was also on the governing board of PHFI, by the way. So all these commissions at the WHO level, and they were actually preparing for this. They were basically an exercise in forming all the structures at the multilateral level as well as at the government level to wage this whole imperialism, global health imperialism, and provide all the kind of technocratic or bureaucratic structures at the country level as well as the multilateral level to impose the fake pandemics and the responses, destructive, pernicious, fascistic, responses to these fake pandemics.
Yep.
Right from 2000.
Yep. Now
so
here.
In last 20-21 years.
Yeah. Please. Yep. Last 20-21 years.
Yeah. So in the last 20-21 years, this global health has become basically an imperialist kind of venture, imperialist venture to impose some kind of world government on the people. So what we call now, the New World Order. So public health has been weaponized into this global health, which is nothing but imperialism.
Yep.
And with the capture of democratic spaces in countries like India, you can see that this public health has now become basically a fascistic kind of exercise.
Yeah. Here now we will present
in destroying democracy across the world.
Yeah, because they are trying to enslave democracy, create fear psychosis, go for lockdowns, and so many deaths. As a doctor, we always demanded what were the presenting symptoms when patients were admitted to the hospitals and what treatments were given. Is it not because of drug trials? And if they have died, where the postmortem report? How do you confirm? Nothing comes out scientifically. That is $1 million question. Here, now we will take Indian country strategic, because you have put it this. Here is how Sonia, Manmohan, Modi left and others sold out India to Bill Gates and other globalist criminals and are conspiring to enslave 135 crore Indians to a totalitarian world government. So in this, now you have went on. How do you relate this? Because I think every country should, you find same, whether it is opposition or ruling party, they are one and the same, as per your statement.
That's right. You can see in this article,
that's what you need to explain.
The Congress Party and the Gates Foundation.
Yeah, you clearly
so
explain.
Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh who set up PHFI, and then they begin to receive the funding from the Gates Foundation. So Congress has this two trusts, Rajiv Gandhi Charitable Trust and Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. The Rajiv Gandhi Charitable Trust has been receiving huge amounts of funding from the Gates Foundation. So this is a very direct kind of relationship. You can just go directly to the Rajiv Gandhi Charitable Trust website and see how they have been receiving funding from the Gates Foundation as well as Public Health Foundation of India, which is also basically a Gates baby. So this is just one instance, and other political parties may also be receiving, this kind of.
We'll come by
funding.
point by point, because it's a big exposure. Rajiv Gandhi Charitable Trust, I don't know what is BJP Modi government doing. Such a big issue. Then we'll come back slowly. So they have been receiving funding from Public Health Foundation of India and Gates Rockefeller's crime syndicate implanted in 2006 by Sonia Maham. Okay. According to RGCT website, which give details of donations received under FCRA, Foreign Contributions Regulation Act, The trust took a total of rupees. What is that? It's mind-boggling. In between 2013 and 2018, how much is that? Is it 500 crores? Something like that? More than 500 crores? 596117652 from. How much is this? Is 5,000 crores or 500 crores? Yeah, Mr. Kapil Bajaj.
Yeah, this is 59 crore. Yeah, 59 crore, about 60 crore. Yeah.
Yeah, 60 crores. Okay, because the figure looks very inflated. 60 crores. And here again, this is in addition to 36.69 crores. 366.9 million that RGCT received from the Bill and Melinda Foundation. Is that the reason why this gentleman Rahul Gandhi is advising, said, I have advised some Prime Minister to go for booster. What, Mr. Rahul Gandhi? Is it what? Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation have been boosting the political parties' donations. And you want to put innocent Indians, make them as guinea pigs. What is this nonsense? Yeah, Mr. So, yeah, everything is on your screen and I'll try to enlarge this if possible. Oh, it's not going. Okay. It is there on your screen, and the President K. Srinath Reddy had been a member of GAIN's Partnership Council. GAIN is also gets regular funding from Open Philanthropy, which is also funded along with Gates Foundation Event 201, a dress rehearsal so-called coronavirus pandemic on 18th October 2019. What is this? Can you explain this? GAIN.
Yeah, this talks about the funding that the PHFI receives. If you also look at the PHFI's record, they have also been receiving funding from all those people who are involved in this corona fraud, including the big pharma, all the pharmaceutical company, Pfizer and GSK and Merck and Abbott and Johnson and Johnson, and all the big pharma companies who are now into this vaccination business. And as well as GAIN, this is some kind of body which also gets funding from the Gates Foundation, and Open Philanthropy. Open Philanthropy actually was involved in the funding of Event 201. Event 201 was a dress rehearsal of this corona fraud, which was held in New York in October 2019, just a few months before this fake pandemic was imposed upon the world. So, Event 201 was, organized by the Gates Foundation, the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is the main kind of body which is imposing this whole New World Order agenda upon the world. So, World Economic Forum is a private club of the big billionaires of the world, including Indian billionaires like Mukesh Ambani and Tata. So, World Economic Forum was involved in organizing Event 201, as well as Johns Hopkins University. So, these three entities, Gates Foundation, World Economic Forum, and Johns Hopkins, organized this Event 201 in October 2019, and that's when they did this whole simulation of the pandemic. Okay, one pandemic will be imposed upon the world, and this is how the government should behave, and this is how the governments will be manipulated to behave or managed, and the media will be managed, and the private companies and the private corporations will manage the whole thing. So all the public and private entities will be will be managed or manipulated into behaving in a certain way. So this whole thing was kind of simulated at this event 201, and you can see all the videos of this event on the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security website. So everything is available, and you can go there and see the simulation, the whole this dress rehearsal of the fake pandemic.
Now you are stating that dress rehearsal. You have any video here down?
No, but this is available on the original the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security website.
Okay, fine.
So everything is available.
Yeah. Now you state here, 2006, when it fraudulently embedded the Gates Rockefeller crime syndicate, in the government with the support of its partners in the United Progressive Alliance, NCP, DMK, RJD, LGP, PMK, IUML, and the left parties, and with the connivance of BJP. It's a big statement you are making.
Yeah, so you look at the constituents of the United Progressive Alliance in 2006, and you have all these parties, including the left parties, the CPI and the CPI-ML, etc. And so all these parties were in the know. They knew that this was set up by the Americans. I mean, or I should call the American deep state, including um, you know, um, the Gates Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the CIA, because USAID was involved. So, and then the consultations were also held. According to the American ambassador, in the WikiLeaks, he says that one consultation was also held before PHFI was set up. And you can see that a number of these public health experts are actually affiliated with the left, the communist parties, etc. Like, in the JNU, in the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, etc. So a consultation was held where all these public health experts were invited. So you can see that PHFI was set up, and a number of parties in the opposition also actually helped in setting up PHFI. So you can see a complete, help and support for this effort across the political spectrum. People in the ruling party as well as in the opposition. So after the UPA, the rule ended in 2014, and this NDA government, came into office. You see the same kind of support to PHFI and all these gangsters by this new coalition government, that is the NDA government. So across the political spectrum, you see support for this. Now, in the left parties, interestingly, you can see that the left party supported the setting up of PHFI in 2006. And they have also been very deeply involved in this corona fraud. Right from 2001, when the left were ruling the West Bengal government, they actually staged a fake, a Nipah virus thing in West Bengal in 2001, and then again in 2007 in West Bengal. And in Kerala, India had a different kind of a dress rehearsal for the corona fraud, and that was held in Kerala in 2018. I think in May 2018, when the left government there actually, with the help of the central government as well as American CDC, as well as WHO, held this whole drama, the Nipah virus drama in 2018. So that was a kind of dress rehearsal for the corona fraud, where they also tried out the PCR test, the fraudulent RT-PCR test, which is 100% fake test. And that was first tried in 2018 in Kerala with this Nipah virus drama, complete fake virus drama. And they also tried the PPE kits and all those, those horrible, those space suits that they wear, the PPE kits and all those things. And the PCR test, very importantly. So you can see the direct involvement of the left parties in this whole fraud. And after this corona fraud was imposed on India in March 2020, you can see that all these globalist criminals are actually celebrating the response of the Kerala government and praising their health minister. And Kerala was actually, projected as some kind of model state in response to this fake pandemic, the corona pandemic. So you can see the clear link between the Kerala government and these globalist criminals like Gates Foundation and Rockefeller Foundation and WHO, etc. And WHO obviously has been completely captured by the Gates Foundation. This Director General Tedros, this Ethiopian guy, he is a Gates man. I mean, you can see the Bill Gates. He set up one body called IHME in 2007. It's called Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, and which is affiliated to University of Washington in Seattle. So Seattle is the hometown of Bill Gates, and his mother actually also taught at the University of Washington. So he set up this body called IHME, Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, affiliated to University of Washington in Seattle. And Tedros was one of the founding board members of IHME, and also K. Srinath Reddy. K. Srinath Reddy is one of the founding members of IHME. So you can see the direct link between, K. Srinath Reddy of PHFI and Tedros of WHO. So that is the kind of link you have. And later on, interestingly, PHFI also had a relationship with IHME directly. IHME is one of the bodies, by the way. The other is this Imperial College London. So Imperial College London and IHME actually were the main entities which actually fueled the fear psychosis, right from the start, from March 2020 about Corona, that so many millions of people across the world will be killed by this so-called, by this virus. And so IHME, funded by Bill Gates, founded by Bill Gates, as well as Imperial College, also funded by Bill Gates, actually was in this fear psychosis operation right from the start, spreading this fear across the world that this SARS-CoV-2 virus is going to kill millions of people across the world. And nothing came to pass, actually. None of these predictions, and these predictions were based on mathematical models, not on anything called this epidemiology has been a fraud, and their epidemiology at least has been a fake science and fraud. Because, an Imperial College study was published in March 2020, and it was a WHO study actually done by Imperial College, and you can still find it on Imperial College website. And it said that the 4 crore people are going to be killed in the first year of this coronavirus. And nothing came to pass. Nothing of that sort happened. So it was all a fraud. Everything was based on, all the forecasts were based on mathematical models rather than anything any real surveys or anything. So this was so IHME later on had a relationship with PHFI. So IHME is also operating in India. This relationship was formed in 2015 between IHME, PHFI, and ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research. And ICMR head was Soumya Swaminathan at that time. And this Soumya Swaminathan then later became a chief scientist in WHO. So you can see the relationship between all these entities, criminal entities.
Yeah, and you have, but how surprisingly left government and Wuhan, Chinese, a left-oriented country, uniting with Americans.
Yeah, across the world, a very interesting thing about this corona fraud and the New World Order agenda is this, that left has been supporting across the world, not just in India, but in America, in Canada, in UK, in Europe. Everywhere you will see the left parties have been supporting the lockdowns. They have been supporting all the COVID measures, all these fascistic measures, the vaccinations, really ardently supporting the vaccinations. So how come all the left parties across the world are become, are supportive of all these fascistic measures, the destruction of democracy? So, you take any left party, everyone, in India, you try to criticize the vaccination, and you will have somebody from some leftist guy, somebody in the left party will be, pouncing upon you. Kavita Krishnan, Prashant Bhushan, the Supreme Court lawyer, criticized, he actually tweeted about it some months ago, that how the introduction of vaccination has led to a complete spike in mortality across the world. And you have this Kavita Krishnan, who is a Politburo member of the Communist Party of India, Marxist-Leninist Liberation. She is a Politburo member. and she pounced upon Prashant Bhushan, saying that he's, giving all these conspiracy theories, and fueling the fear of, vaccinations. So, how come all the left parties and the left guys across the world have been supporting the lockdowns, have been supporting the vaccinations, all these toxic vaccines, and all these fascistic measures? So there is a great support by all the left parties across the world for this fascist agenda, leading to the destruction of democracy across the world.
Yeah. So that is very clear. Political parties across the spectrum, before coming to Modi and his governance, what is this fourth industrial revolution? And you have mentioned Mukesh Ambani to everyone. Yes, Mukesh Ambani, when everyone is dying for want of food, livelihoods, see how the rates of Geo have been increased. 28 instead of 30 days, 28 days. And God knows, every day the package rates have increased. And when people need, when they are locked down and you made them to become techno savvy and everything is online, and that is how he is getting benefited multifold. Multifold. Yes, like the vaccine manufacturers. And see, that is why Mr. Mukesh Ambani has bought something in New York. And when during the first phase, when Mukesh Ambani entered the Forbes 100 list of Forbes, even the government, Mr. Modi was celebrating when people were dying, people were scared into submission. Yes, Mr. Kapil Bajaj.
Yeah, so the fourth industrial revolution is a baby of the World Economic Forum, which is a private club of all the big billionaires of the world, including Indian billionaires like Mukesh Ambani and Narayan Murthy and Azim Premji and Shiv Nadar and all these Indian billionaires. So World Economic Forum is the main body behind all the chaos, behind this great reset, behind the fourth industrial revolution, and behind the entire this new world order agenda. So they are the capitalists who are trying to capture the entire world actually, and destroy democracy and impose fascism upon the world. So this is the main body sponsoring this whole this fascistic project of new world order, which can be seen in terms of the recasting of the economy, in terms of imposition of a technological agenda upon the world, in terms of this fourth industrial revolution, etc. So, fourth industrial revolution is about a number of technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, gene editing, robotics, drones, etc. And they want a complete kind of cybernetic management of the earth, and by treating everything as a resource, as an economic resource, including the human beings. And World Economic Forum has also been promoting the vaccines. The CAP Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Initiatives, promoted by Bill Gates, was actually launched at a WEF meeting. And India has been a supporter of CAP also, Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Initiatives. So, India's billionaires have been a member of it, including Mukesh Ambani. Mukesh Ambani has been a long time supporter of World Economic Forum and a funder of World Economic Forum. And Mukesh Ambani has also been sitting on the governing board of PHFI. So he is directly involved in destruction of democracy in India. And Mukesh Ambani has also been a supporter of, a funder of Narendra Modi. So you can see the direct links. So after this destruction caused by this fake pandemic, WEF launches this great reset. So they say that the world we had has been kind of destroyed, and now we need a new world, actually, a new system, new economy and everything. So they launch World Economic Forum launches this Great Reset in June 2020, and across the world you can see the rollout of 5G, wireless technology, which will be the main infrastructure for artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all these technologies. And Mukesh Ambani has been setting up that infrastructure, the 5G infrastructure, the Geo 5G infrastructure. And he received a huge amount of investments. Most of the investments that came to India in 2020 were in, Mukesh Ambani's Geo platform, right from the Facebook and the big hedge funds, BlackRock and Vanguard and Google and everything. So Mukesh Ambani has been kind of directly involved in the destruction of democracy in India and then benefiting from this whole agenda. And Narendra Modi launched, set up, two centers for fourth industrial revolution in India in 2018-19. One center was set up in Mumbai and another in New Delhi. So Narendra Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has been, attending the meetings of this private club or criminal club of capitalists called World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, and he's also been promoting their agenda. And so he set up these two centers for fourth industrial revolution in India, which are, and you can see the government of India has brought out the policy papers on artificial intelligence, on blockchain, etc. So this technological agenda is going ahead at the level of the central government as well as the state governments. And if you look at Narendra Modi's involvement, you can see that he has not only been promoting the WF agenda. Now, WF agenda actually spans across the board, not just a technological agenda or the recasting of the entire economic setup of the world, but also a more comprehensive agenda called Agenda 2030. So, Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development Goals, which was signed by the countries in 2015. That is in control of WEF now, the private club of capitalists, because there was an agreement between the World Economic Forum and the United Nations in 2019, in June 2019. Now, through that agreement, they gave the entire charge of implementing this Agenda 2030 to the World Economic Forum. So there was this agreement between United Nations and WEF, and this whole business of basically implementing the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development Goals was given over to the World Economic Forum. So it's the World Economic Forum, the private club of criminal capitalists, who are now handling the Agenda 2030. And the nodal body for that is Niti Aayog, by the way. So Niti Aayog is a body set up in 2015 itself when Agenda 2030 was launched or started. So Niti Aayog was launched in January 2015 by Narendra Modi, and the government of India signed the Agenda 2030 in September 2015, and later we find that the same agenda actually goes under the control of WEF, the World Economic Forum. And the nodal body for implementing the Agenda 2030 as well as Fourth Industrial Revolution in India is the Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog, if you look at the governing board of Niti Aayog, it is chaired by the Prime Minister, and it has all the chief ministers of India sitting on the governing board, which means, so Niti Aayog is actually a body now which is actually implementing this entire agenda of New World Order, of transforming everything in India. Agenda 2030, Fourth Industrial Revolution, as well as this whole fake pandemic business and vaccination business. So you can see it's the Niti Aayog, which is now working as a back office of the World Economic Forum, which is behind this whole New World Order agenda. So Niti Aayog represents the entire, the government structure in India, the central government as well as the state governments. And in the central government, you see all the departments and all the ministries have been aligned with the World Economic Forum agenda, which is the Agenda 2030. And the same thing is happening in the state government at the state government level. All the departments and ministries of the state governments are being aligned with the World Economic Forum agenda. So you can see the entire government structure in India at the central and state level is being aligned with the this fascist agenda of the World Economic Forum. So that is the kind of capture that capture of the governance, capture of the democracy that we have seen in India.
And now PHFI fronts up for Big Pharma. And it's a big statement you gave. GlaxoSmithKline and Merck involved in the criminal act of testing without consent of experimental HPV vaccines on 23,000 tribal girls in Andhra Pradesh. Chief Minister Y.S. Rajshekar Reddy of Congress and Gujarat. Chief Minister Narendra Modi of BJP. What is this statement?
Yeah, so you look at, if you go to the PHFI website, you can find who are the entities in Big Pharma who are actually funding this this criminal club, PHFI. So all the entities you will find who are currently involved in making these toxic vaccines, the entire pharma mafia, the criminal syndicate, everyone like GlaxoSmithKline, Johnson & Johnson, Lilly, Abbott, Pfizer, all of them are actually providing funds to the PHFI. And this PHFI, in 2016-17, I think I've given the data, 2016-17, how much funding they got from GlaxoSmithKline, from Merck, Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah.
All the details you will find.
Yes.
So all these entities are involved in criminal activities like GSK and Merck. Now GSK and Merck were involved in these illegal, lethal clinical trials in 2007-8, when these HPV injections were administered. HPV is human papilloma virus, the cervical cancer, so-called vaccines, which were not even vaccines because they were being clinically tried. So they were administered to these tribal girls in Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat. And Gates Foundation funded this whole project, and ICMR was involved, Indian Council of Medical Research. And there was another NGO, a Washington-based NGO called PATH, funded by the Gates Foundation, which was also involved, and two drugs companies which provided these so-called vaccines, GSK and Merck, they were involved. So that same, this, this whole criminal operation was conducted with the help of ICMR, and later on, the same government of Sonia Gandhi, Manmohan Singh gave award to Bill Gates, as if to award them, to honor him for killing our tribal girls. In 2009, so Sonia Gandhi, Manmohan Singh government gave Indira Gandhi Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development to Bill Gates or the Gates Foundation. So this is the kind of criminality that we see within government, and this is the kind of relationship they had with Bill Gates. So all these entities have been providing funding to PHFI, and then PHFI is also providing funding to the Congress party. So this is the kind of incestuous relationship they have had.
And you said government inquiry found that those who conducted the experiment committed serious ethical violations. But Gates Foundation, GlaxoSmithKline, and Merck were never prosecuted for that murderous crime. They are still, you say, they are managing India, PHFI, and everyone.
Yeah. So this inquiry was actually conducted by a Rajya Sabha committee, and you can find the inquiry report on the net. So Rajya Sabha committee inquired into this whole episode, and they indicted Gates Foundation, ICMR, PATH, and all those, and the pharma companies, all those involved in this illegal clinical trial, because these injections were administered to the girls without their consent, with deception, and by misleading their parents, and they were indicted by this Rajya Sabha committee, and this case also went up to the Supreme Court. I think it's still going on. So Supreme Court hasn't delivered any judgment. I don't think Bill Gates has been prosecuted, or these ICMR has been prosecuted, or the PATH has been prosecuted, or the pharma companies involved are prosecuted. They should have been prosecuted. So this case, I think, is still going on, and now we have a situation where the same experiment is being conducted, and these injections are administered to the entire population of India. And now we see our children, like in these toxic COVID injections are being administered to our, young children in the age group of 15 to 18. So it's because of this, these HPV clinical trials, which started in India, illegal trials, after the PHFI was set up in 2006, that we see these crimes being committed now to the entire population of India.
Yeah,
And very interestingly, you can see that the two states involved in this HPV scandal are Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat, both of which actually had set up PHFI branches early on. So
Okay. That's a big crime. I only hope the Indian citizens are listening to this live show with evidences. The Honorable Prime Minister should come out clean. Now it is up to him whether during his chief ministership as Chief Minister of Gujarat, did he allow the vaccine, the so-called vaccine, by these GlaxoSmithKline and Merck, this CPC, am I right? CPC vaccine, untested, HPV vaccines on 23,000 tribal girls in Andhra Pradesh, when Chief Minister Y.S. Rajshekar Reddy of Congress and Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi of BJP, both Congress and BJP have to answer this. And along with left parties, because you all are together, you are all are promoting vaccines and these mandates. That's why every citizen has got doubt now, all these political parties and the administrators. So this is a big exposure from this. The Bill Gates, GlaxoSmithKline and Merck were involved in killing of tribal girls because they were administered HPC vaccines on 23,000 tribal girls in both United Andhra Pradesh and Gujarat. Now the same Chief Minister happens to be twice now he is elected to lead the country as the Prime Minister of India. Now he has to answer. And the both parties, is it right or wrong? And this is none other than the Rajya Sabha committee. And he states that clearly this report is still there at the Rajya Sabha website. And not only that, after this, the HPV vaccines trial, which is founded by Rajya Sabha committee, has clearly came out stating that serious ethical violations have been done by Gates Foundation, GlaxoSmithKline and Merck, but they were never prosecuted. Instead, Gates Foundation was awarded the Indira Gandhi Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development. Nonsense, absolutely. This is mind-boggling. And not only that, again you came up with another one. Gates Foundation was also behind an aggressive oral polio vaccination campaign that paralyzed 4,91,000 children in India. Yes, Mr. Kapil.
yeah, so as I said, the Gates Foundation was given this whole um, work of managing our uh, vaccination program, um, universal immunization program, and uh, Gates Foundation was funding the Secretariat of NTAGI, National Technical Advisory Group on Immunization. PHFI was made a secretariat of the NTAGI. So Gates Foundation has been, behind all the push for including new so-called vaccines in the universal immunization program, in pushing multiple oral polio vaccine doses to our children, and in carrying out all these illegal, unlawful clinical trials of these so-called vaccines. So, in the case of oral polio vaccine, it's the Bill Gates who was pushing for this whole business of administering, multiple doses to the children. And now you can see across the world, not just in India, in Africa and other countries, that because of these multiple oral polio vaccinations, you see that the children are becoming paralyzed because of these so-called vaccines, rather than because of the reasons that are supposed to cause these polio, paralysis. So, according to the research paper, I've cited this paper here. Dr. Jacob Puliel and others, they wrote this paper some years ago, where they said that because of these multiple polio doses pushed by Bill Gates, about close to 5 lakh children actually were paralyzed because of the multiple doses of the vaccinations. So it's the vaccinations, so-called,
Yep.
that are now causing the polio virus, the polio, the paralysis.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
So this is the
Big issue.
scientific paper that you should look at.
That is a scientific paper which is already there in the public domain. Oral polio vaccination causing paralysis instead of curing the or preventing the paralysis, because they have changed the definition of vaccines or immunization from stopping transmission to less lethality or hospitalization. That is nonsense. That means they have made vaccine to become a drug. Drug is prescribed only when you diagnose a disease, and that too it will have its own side effects, and still no liability and compensation. And another interesting aspect, Johnson & Johnson supplied faulty hip plants in India, damaging or disabling 4,700 people who underwent surgeries between 2004 and 2010. The police acted only in April 2019 to launch an investigation into the complaints. So I hope every Indian citizen is listening to this, and also the world. The criminality is being heaped on innocent human beings, citizens of India and the world, in the name of vaccination experiments, and then another faulty surgery implant experiments. Your comment. Now they have launched the case only in 2019. Shocking. Very shocking.
That- That's right. So, all these big pharma entities, they have been given, a complete free run of India, and these are really criminal entities, and they have been given complete immunity in India, complete impunity with which they are being treated in India. You can see no government has the power or the will to act against them, to throw them out of the country. Despite this whole crime of HPV and oral polio vaccinations, the Gates Foundation continues to not just operate in India, they are ruling India now, because they are doing the same experiment now on a nationwide scale. It's the Gates Foundation which is behind, which is the main player in this whole COVID fraud and this toxic vaccination that is going on. And the other entities also, the drug, I mean, whether it's Pfizer or whether it's GlaxoSmithKline, Merck, Johnson and Johnson. I mean, Pfizer, I think people would know that it has paid the highest amount of, the fines in the US for all kinds of criminality. So each of these companies has been involved in these crimes.
Yeah, you
And,
said
including in India.
GlaxoSmithKline has a long record of criminality. In 2012, it pleaded guilty to criminal charges and agreed to a 53 billion settlement of the largest healthcare fraud case in the US and the largest payment by a pharmaceutical company. Likewise, Pfizer also in 2009 or 12, he himself has acknowledged that they will
That's
never
right.
do anything like that. But again, he has been caught by British medical journal in the trials, which on the ongoing COVID vaccine trials. And surprisingly, CDC or FDA, or for that matter, US government or their investigating agencies, they just keep quiet and they are advising booster of the same Pfizer company. Mind boggling. How can this happen across the globe? So we are putting all the facts, and then Bill Gates and his crime syndicate, Narendra Modi, he said, despite the six, I don't want to take that, direct orders from Gates, and you say vaccine mafia Gavi, which came into being in 2000, and CEPI, Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, which was launched in 2017 at a WEF meeting and has the support of same criminal GlaxoSmithKline, Merck, and other big pharma predators. How do you look at this? One word on this before. How is that our news media also is being managed? You mentioned Indian Express and Hindu.
Yeah, so uh, you can see that the government of India has been supporting all these criminal entities, including PHFI, Gavi, CEPI, which is Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. So you can see the relationship between the various ministries and these bodies. Like PHFI was set up in 2006 by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and with the help of the government officials, K. Srinath Reddy, who was working for AIMS, and Raghunath Mashelkar, who was the Secretary of DSIR and CSIR, so the chairman of CSIR. So you can see the health ministry officials, top officials, like the health secretary, like the head of the ICMR, everybody sitting on the governing board of PHFI. So it's the government of India people who are sitting on the governing board of this criminal entity. Montek Singh Ahluwalia, who was the deputy chairman of Planning Commission, was sitting on the PHFI board for many years. And now, if you look at if you go to the PHFI website, you will find that they list a number of government officials who are supposedly sitting on their governing board, even though nobody knows what happens in their board meetings. Nobody knows that. So no ministry is going to tell you what happens in the board meetings of PHFI, the criminal entity. So when we asked for information under RTI, we did not receive any response. I mean, we did not receive any response which told us that yes, these are the minutes of the meeting or something. So nobody knows that. And then you have Gavi, this multilateral body of Bill Gates Criminal Club, the vaccination mafia.
Yeah.
Gavi and CEPI.
Yep.
So in Gavi, you will see that the deputy CEO is an Indian woman, Anuradha Gupta, who used to be the additional secretary in the Ministry of Health, and now she's sitting. She's the deputy CEO of Gavi, which is a very important member of Bill Gates' vaccine mafia. And then you have CEPI, Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, which was launched in 2017. And you will see that Indian scientist Gagandeep Kang is sitting on the board of CEPI. And Government of India has a relationship with it, like Department of Biotechnology has a relationship with CEPI. So Government of India has been funding CEPI, providing funds, public funds to CEPI. Government of India has been providing public funds to Gavi. Government of India has been providing funds to PHFI. So it's the government of India which has been funding the vaccine crime syndicate of Bill Gates. So that is the kind of involvement, not just in cash, but in kind. It's the government of India officials who are sitting on the boards of PHFI, Gavi, and SEPI. So government officials sitting in these criminal entities and directly involved with these criminals and destroying the democracy, not just in India but across the world. So that is the kind of involvement that the government of India has with the Bill Gates, Rockefeller vaccine crime syndicate.
Yeah, that's a big issue. And then our newspapers, you mentioned mass communication. Two papers you are mentioning.
Yeah, you see the complete capture of the mainstream media by these global health criminals, these globalist criminals who have used health to advance this global imperialism. Bill Gates has been providing funds to the international media, to the BBC, to the Guardian, to the CNBC and CNN and other entities. And in India also, you see the mainstream media has been supportive of PHFI right from the start, promoting this criminal entity through their editorials, through their opinion pieces, through their news reporting. And now you see, like in COVID, across the board, the media has been supporting this whole fake narrative of this fake pandemic. And you won't see any dissenting voices in the media. So they're all on the same page. But, I noticed that because I did my research on PHFI, so I noticed that, newspapers like the Hindu and the Indian Express. Indian Express is supposed to be a liberal paper. The Hindu is supposed to be a more on the leftist side. They have been kind of supporting PHFI right from the start, publishing, articles by K. Srinath Reddy on their pages, and also from the news reporting. They never went into the fact that this body was a criminal entity which has no legal standing, which was directly involved in a lot of criminality actually. Because I mentioned, like in 2018, I wrote this article and I actually talked about a huge financial scam that took place within PHFI also. When Narayan Murthy was the chairman, and a lot of money was siphoned off. I think about 90 crore of money was siphoned off through these fraudulent FDs. And so none of these papers actually inquired into the goings on in PHFI or the nature of PHFI, the criminal nature of PHFI. And they have been promoting PHFI. So you can see that the mainstream media in India has been clearly involved in promotion of all these criminal entities and the overall agenda of these fascist criminals.
But how come Hindu went ahead with Rafael exposure?
Well, I don't know, but if you look at the mainstream media has been, there's no dissenting voices in India. As far as this whole COVID fraud goes, as far as this whole, this agenda of where they're using public health to destroy democracy goes, you see the same tone, the same kind of reporting and same kind of commentary across the board in Indian media. So,
yeah, same narration wherever you go, whether it is electronic or print. That is where I've been demanding them, all these newspapers and these bloggers, or including the electronic media. I was asking them which disease is fatal or dangerous for Indians. Is it malaria, tuberculosis, as claimed by WHO itself? 42% went undetected. Or malnutrition, typhoid, diarrhea, encephalitis when you compare it with COVID-19. And is it not a fact that 99.99% by the world statistics, including WHO. They said they will recover on their own. That is why quarantine without any treatment. Now, how is that it has become fatal? I said, where is the post-mortem report? How do you confirm? Even Supreme Court also, the Supreme Court and Honorable High Courts, they are also not allowing this trial to come to a logical conclusion. They are asking, demanding, you pay this for COVID death, but how did you certify COVID death? Where is the post-mortem report? How can you simply just believe that RT-PCR test is positive, and how is that you are ignoring other disorders, comorbidities you say? And is it not a fact that drug trials happened? The way WHO went on withdrawing remdesivir, cocktails, how many people have died, spending lakhs? How is that Supreme Court also doesn't go for a trial based on the evidences? And that too, public interest litigation, Dr. Jacob Pulial's petitions, they are lying along with Bhushan. First dose gone, second dose gone, now booster, and even they are trying to inject this untested under trial, no liability and compensation angles, under emergency use authorization, using our money. So still Supreme Court and High Court, they are keeping quiet when they are trying to inject this into innocent children. How do you look at this scenario? And then in 2018, Secretary of the Department of Science and Technology, DS, Ashutosh Sharma, for instance, was caught red-handed helping PHFI, Public Health Foundation of India, a Bill Gates organization, strike a deal with a government medical institution while being on the PHFI board without any authorization from the government. Is it still there, Ashutosh Sharma?
Yeah, so we filed a complaint with the Government of India against Ashutosh Sharma, and this complaint went up to the Cabinet Secretariat, and then no action was taken. But soon after we filed a complaint, his name disappeared from the the PHFI website. So, all these people, in 2011, in 2012, actually, I had filed an RTI. I mean, somebody had filed an RTI, and I had represented the RTI applicant in the CIC, in the Central Information Commission. And we found that PHFI, the government people sitting on the board of PHFI, the PHFI told the Central Information Commissioner Shailesh Gandhi in my presence that all these government people like Montek Singh Ahluwalia, who was then the deputy chairman of the Planning Commission, they were sitting on the board of PHFI in their private capacity. So all these people, whether it's the health secretary or the ICMR chairman or the Director General of Health Services, whoever who is sitting on the board of PHFI, according to PHFI, they are sitting on their governing board in their private capacity. So that is the level of corruption, a very in-your-face, blatant corruption that we are seeing, basically. So, this Ashutosh Sharma, again, was sitting on the board of PHFI, and he's also the DST secretary, and he's writing an email to the director of the Sri Chitra Perumal Institute in Trivandrum, and, recommending that, they should have a tie-up with PHFI. And when we asked the Government of India, the Ministry of Science and Technology, whether Ashutosh Sharma was authorized to be on the board of PHFI, we draw a blank. We don't receive any record of any such authorization. But the ministry tells us that we have no such record that we ever authorized Ashutosh Sharma to be on the board of PHFI. So all the government people. So this is a kind of vehicle. PHFI is a vehicle to corrupt the entire bureaucratic setup in India. To corrupt the entire this administrative setup in India. So anybody in the Government of India can become an agent of Bill Gates or Rockefeller and all these gangsters, and start working from them and begin to draw benefits from them. So that is what is happening. The entire corruption of the bureaucracy through these entities like PHFI.
Wonderful. So I think I'm just trying to play some of your these things so that this will be for reference. I hope all the mails which you have sent, all are on the screen. The first appeal, and then here is another one, which you said COG report and all. What is that COG report?
Yeah, so PHFI, initially it was built by the Manmohan Singh government as a public-private partnership, PPP,
Yeah.
which it was not, because when we asked for a PPP agreement, we found that Government of India had none. And it was also promoted as an autonomous body by the junior health minister then in the Manmohan Singh government, Panabaka Lakshmi. She told the parliament that this is a autonomous body, which it was not. Again, it was not, because in any ministry you won't find, if you go to any ministry's website, you won't find any mention of PHFI or so. PHFI is like a complete private club of these gangsters, criminal capitalists who are actually controlling the government of India. So it's neither a autonomous body under the government of India, set up under any rules, nor a public-private partnership. And they never complied with the RTI Act for the 6 years of their existence. The first 7 years of their existence, they did not comply with the RTI Act, nor did they ever submitted themselves to the public auditor, the CAG, Controller and Auditor General. And despite receiving crores and crores of money from the government, from the central government as well as the state governments, they never submitted themselves to public audit by the CAG. So it's only in 2011 when somebody filed an RTI, and that complaint went up to the CIC, the Central Information Commission, that the PHFI was ordered to comply with the RTI Act. And I was the one who represented the RTI applicant then. And but in 16 years of its criminal existence, PHFI has never submitted itself to the public audit. And my information is that they have received crores and crores of help from the central government, state government in cash and kind. They have also received land, land parcels free of charge from the state governments to set up these public health schools. And according to one whistleblower that I talked to in 2018, he said about 100 acres of land they have, a land bank. So it's a huge scam going on. So they are sitting on a land bank of about 100 acres. Can you believe it? And that is the kind of help they have been given by the state governments. And in many of these land parcels that they hold, they have never been able to set up any schools also. So in some of the places, they are still, working in rented premises. So they're sitting on this huge land bank, and they're getting funding also in monetary help from the government. So despite that, no public audit, no CAG audit.
No public audit, no CAG audit. I hope Honorable Prime Minister of India is listening to this. If your government is sincere, now you take up this investigation. You have to clear it to the world as to when you are a chief minister, how is that those vaccines were administered to tribal girls? Is it a fact or not? Including the Andhra Pradesh combined state chief minister, that time Y.S. Rajshekar Reddy. The Congress party has to come out clean now. BJP and Congress chief ministers. Now one is the Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. Now those HPV vaccines, did you allow as a chief minister without consent of the tribal girls to be administered and trusted by that criminal GlaxoSmithKline and Merck companies or not, including the Bill Gates funded? And similarly, those hip plant scam. And now, who is responsible for those day-to-day happenings? Indian Council of Medical Research or Union Health Ministry? Who is sitting on this? Don't they have any direct relation with this Bill Gates funded organization headed by Dr. K. Srinath Reddy and the group? Is it not a fact? Public Health Foundation of India. You said 2017, ICMR, they all came out. But Who is reporting about the after effects? Is it not again the same Bill Gates company? And is it not a fact that even after Prime Minister Modi became Prime Minister of India, I think second time, right? He was speaking to Bill Gates during COVID. Am I right, Mr. Kapil Bajaj?
Yeah, Narendra Modi is directly taking orders from Bill Gates. Narendra Modi gave an award to Bill Gates, I think, to Gates Foundation in 2016, I think, or 17. They gave this award, the Padam Bhushan. So Narendra Modi has been directly involved with these gangsters right from the start. He set up the branch of PHFI in Gandhinagar. So I think in BJP government, the NDA government has, followed the same policies that, the UPA government had. So there has been no change in policy. What happened in 2017, when they ended this relationship between Gates Foundation and the NTAGI, that was only a cosmetic change. They have been basically supporting NDA government of Narendra Modi has been completely supportive of Bill Gates and completely involved with these gangsters in destroying democracy in India. So that is my research. There has been no change.
No change.
And now they are directly taking orders from the Bill Gates. You can see the clear influence of Bill Gates right from the start in COVID, when this COVID fraud was imposed. You could see the Prime Minister talking directly to Bill Gates, and there is a complete capture of the government of India by these gangsters, including Bill Gates and the World Economic Forum.
So now what shall we demand from this? Atmanirbhar by every Indian citizen. That's how Dr. Kushwaha has been writing. We should get rid of both Bill Gates and Bill Gates funded governments when it comes to public health. Because now digital health, big scam, Narendra Modi is about to unveil. I am asking him, why do you, as a doctor, why do you need a health card at all? Why should I get tested? What is this nonsense going on? If I don't have any symptom, why should I expose myself? And how truthful these diagnostics are. Once you see, I am giving Mr. Narendra Modi, because Congress party, now we have seen what they have been doing and what people have taught them. Now including left parties, I am asking them straight question. Mr. Narendra Modi and all the honorable chief ministers and all the political party heads. Diabetes is not a big scam. Metabolic disorder. 230, 240 up till 250 was also postprandial normal. 170, 180 fasting was normal. All of a sudden, the statistics, they changed to 70, 80 to 100, 110. Is it not a metabolic disorder? Why this paradigm shift in these diagnostic features? All of a sudden. That means you bought almost entire India under diabetic. And you see, then you are administering medicines, chemicals. Then you relate them to hypertension, what so many other disorders. And you pump medicines and then through that surgeries. And then you have big thing. Pharmacies experimenting drug after drug. Insurance, latest new insurance policies, because you are not covered with the old order. So new insurance company policies, looting literally. Now both pharmacy and insurance combined together, coming on a digital platform in the name of digital health card. That was investing our own public health money. Why do we need this, Honorable Prime Minister? Now during COVID-19, you have seen the dictates of WHO, how they kept on changing. And still you are believing. You are taking dictates from WHO, dictated by Bill Gates Foundation, and directly by the same foundation to every Indian state, chief minister, as well as a political party, which you have seen very clearly exposed. When such is the case, why should we listen? Why should we need a health card at all? If your medicine is becoming modern, don't you think, Honorable Prime Minister of India, we should have a lot of preventive measures so that no one falls sick? That should have been the diet. Am I right or wrong? You have to correct me. And not only that, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, Hindutva you take. You say this party has come alive to keep the traditions of India. We welcome it. But why are you suppressing Ayurveda? Is it not our traditional medicine? Now you are going around, because now every Indian has a doubt on you. Every state you are sanctioning 5 medical colleges, 10 medical colleges. Who has asked you that? What about Indian Ayurveda and other naturotherapy? What has happened? You brought a holistic bill in last April 2020. Why that is not being put into place now? Instead, you are trying to sanction medical colleges. You mean to say every Indian should become a guinea pig for all those diseases which Western US or Europe suffer? Mr. Narendra Modi and including all the chief ministers and the political party heads, does America or Europe suffer from tuberculosis? Do they have vectors like mosquitoes, flies? Do they suffer from malaria, dengue, typhoid, diarrheas? For lack of hygienic conditions, do they suffer any other disorder there? Do they suffer from malnutrition? There is another story, because right from food, everything is hijacked in US and Europe. Everything chemical composed. At least here we are lucky, but you are trying to complicate even that also by bringing in these farm laws. So do those US and Europe and the other countries suffer from these malaria, tuberculosis, dengue, typhoid, which every Indian suffers, and many youth and children, they are dying because of this? Is it a fact or not? That too in spite of 100 years old BCG vaccine. And treatment, 6 months treatment, out of 120 are still dying. We have put out facts also. Then why are you not acting? Why are you scaring people in the name of COVID? Flu, deaths were stopped. They were not counting on flu deaths, but suddenly they shifted to COVID-19. Do Indians suffer from flu? I am requesting every Indian, understand, Zakam, cold, every season you get cold, you recover from it. That means every new strain you get affected and you get immunity and you are happy with that. Similar is COVID-19. Then how is that they are trying to threaten us with these things? And Honorable Prime Minister has to clearly come out clean now. Every Indian should start questioning themselves. We should become Atmanirbhar. That means if you have proper information, correct information, as we have given out through this show, we are trying to make you informed so that you can decide. Every Indian citizen is a constitutional authority. Right from Prime Minister to Honorable Chief Minister, Cabinet Secretary to Chief Secretary, they are all our public servants. These governments run by the taxes paid by us. And unfortunately, Supreme Court should have come to the rescue basing on the basic structure of the Constitution when the violation of fundamental rights is happening, when a health issue has become a big, fearful issue, a law and order issue, when no information is being given to the individual, you are forcibly vaccinating, forcing them to get into mandates. Many people have been killed because of this fear psychosis. Many people have been killed because of these drug trials. Many people have lost their livelihoods because of these unnecessary mandates, and their children have become malnutrition. They don't have money to feed the children. And then who is feasting? Bill Gates supplying all this equipment. Ambani hiking even Jio during this pandemic times. And our government happily selling away all public sector units. They are killed by Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited. Likewise, all public sector units they are killing when pandemic is happening. And looting, and only 2 or 3 like America, neo-rich to control everything. You have seen even party funds. You cannot get access who is funding and how much is funding. Every political party is happy. So there is no transparency and accountability in administration. All political parties have become one when it comes to public health. They want to impose. Yes, Mr. Kapil Bajaj. Now, what is that you expect out of this show? What is that you want every Indian citizen to do? And what is that Supreme Court of India, High Court of every state to do? And what is that, at least finally, if Narendra Modi ji, who has won on the wave of Hindus or Hindutva, what he should be supposed to be doing to his loyal electorate? And above all, of all these crimes, in spite of hard evidences, no state government or central government or no country is punishing them. What should International Court of Justice should do?
Yeah, so there is this illegal clinical trial going on across the world, and every human being has been made a guinea pig, especially in India. 135 crore Indians have been made the guinea pig, and they are being killed with these toxic injections they call vaccines, which they are not, because they have never been tried. The trials haven't finished. The trials haven't been finished. Uh, uh, you know, and so this is what these illegal clinical trials going on of these toxic injections, and this whole corona fraud and the larger agenda behind it, the New World Order agenda. This is about destruction of democracy across the world. Basically, they want to destroy democracy across the world and impose fascism, because this fake virus or this fake pandemic was actually um, imposed upon the world because they wanted to roll out these toxic injections, and these toxic injections have led to this vaccine passport system, the medical passport system. And the medical passport system means that your basic fundamental rights are going to be completely subverted and undermined. Now you cannot participate in society, you cannot participate in public life uh, and enjoy all your rights without showing this vaccine status or the vaccine certificate or the medical passport. So that is the kind of system that is being introduced in India, being rolled out in India across the country. In Rajasthan, now the chief minister is saying in Rajasthan that the citizens are not, they don't have the right to refuse these injections, and those who are unvaccinated will not be allowed to be in public, basically. So, and they won't get anything, any government facility, the ration or the pension or anything. So the same is happening across states. Like in I think in Assam, they have already said that unvaccinated will not be allowed anywhere except hospitals. So in Haryana, I think they are already banned people unvaccinated from the public places, from shopping malls, etc. So even in our temples and in our pilgrimage centers, they are banning people who cannot show their vaccination certificates. So this is about a destruction of democracy and imposition of fascism that the NDA government of Narendra Modi has been basically carrying out with the help of these globalist criminals. In fact, you could say that these globalist criminals have taken over. Now the power has shifted to the World Economic Forum, to the Bill Gates of the world, actually. And they are the one who are actually governing India now. And all these people in the central government, state government are the puppets. They are the puppets. And talking about vaccinations, I should mention that the RSS, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, has actually started thousands of vaccination centers in India. They set up thousands of vaccination centers across India. This is a fact, a reported fact. And our Prime Minister himself was basically an RSS pracharak before he, became a BJP member. So RSS has played a huge role in imposing this corona fraud and in carrying out this whole fascistic agenda in India. So on the one hand, you have Congress, on the other hand, you have RSS. And they are the two poles of the so-called Indian political theater. Because now we have, like in America, like in UK, we have these two poles, the leftist and the rightist. I mean, this is the terminology of the West. It doesn't apply to India, actually. I don't believe in this left-wing, right-wing thing. But across the world, you can see the same political theater of left and right. And both the left and the right, the left is in India would be the UPA, United Progressive Alliance, led by Congress, and the right would be the NDA, led by the BJP. So both are basically controlled by these globalist criminals who are, advancing this New World Order agenda upon the world, the fascistic agenda of destroying democracy. And you can see the complete political support in India to these criminals, and also in the media. So it's important to note that and then judiciary, when this whole lockdowns were imposed in India in March 2020, our higher judiciary, instead of protecting the constitution, and what happened in India after lockdowns were imposed, people's rights were taken away, their fundamental rights of earning their livelihood were taken away, and you have lakhs and lakhs of these workers, the daily wage workers, etc., who were actually leaving the cities for their villages, and there were no trains, and there were no public transport, and they were on the highways. So this is the kind of and instead of protecting the rights of the people, the Supreme Court and the High Courts imposed the COVID protocol upon themselves, and they started these video conferencing. I mean, they started all their proceedings to be online, and so if the Supreme Court, the higher judiciary, imposes the COVID protocol upon them, how are they going to save the people of India from all these fascistic restrictions? So this has been going on, and after these vaccines were introduced in 2011, in January 2021, injections have been imposed with the coercion in India right from the start, and the rural populations have been threatened that their rights, their all the government facilities that they enjoy, ration and the pension, everything will be taken away if they don't, take these injections. So no court is helping us, and all the petitions that have been filed, and none of have been taken seriously by the Supreme Court and the High Courts. And instead of protecting the rights of the people and protecting them from these toxic, these injections, the courts are actually imposing this whole fascist agenda upon the country. Because if you look at the judgments of the High Courts, the Karnataka High Court gave this judgment that the mandatory vaccination is okay, it's fine. Gujarat High Court said, there is a matter of, the Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation banning the unvaccinated from the public places, and the Gujarat High Court says that it's okay. Yeah, they are protecting public health, and they actually, basically told the petitioner to get lost because he's damaging public health. So I'm saying the higher judiciary in India, they are, instead of protecting the constitution and the constitutional rights of the people, they are actually helping to advance this fascist agenda, to impose this fascist agenda upon the people. So that is the attitude of our high judiciary, the High Court and the Supreme Courts. So where is the Republic of India? You don't find it now. It has disappeared completely. The judiciary itself is not protecting the constitution. So our democracy has been destroyed by the executive, by the legislature, by the judiciary. Legislature, look at the parliament. When this lockdowns were imposed in March 2020, your parliament actually, stopped, convening, and there were no parliamentary sessions, and and then the entire agenda is being implemented throughout 2020 and 2021. New laws and everything, and without any discussion. So Parliament was never involved in discussion of this whole this fake pandemic and what followed in the aftermath of imposing this fake pandemic upon India. None of these policies of lockdowns, toxic injections, genocide. I call them genocidal lockdowns and these toxic injections. None of these policies have been discussed by Parliament, and all this emergency, basically the imposition of the Disaster Management Act, the Epidemic Act, everything is illegal and unconstitutional. And the courts are not, reviewing that. Courts are not, basically examining that. So, where is the Republic of India? It has been taken over by a fascist state of India, basically. And a new world order has already been imposed upon India. And it happened in March 2020. And now we don't have anything to protect people from this fascist state, which is killing our people, which is killing our children. Now, they're saying that after, on this toxic vaccinations were actually being administered to young people from 15 to school children actually, and from 15 to 18. And now they are saying, I think by March they are going to, include the children from 12 to 15. So people are being killed right from 3rd of January when they started the vaccination of school children. I think dozens of school children have been killed by these vaccines, dozens. Because you can see the reports, but there are many deaths which are unreported. So children are being administered the toxic injection, they never needed them, and their health is being destroyed. I think their fertility is going to be destroyed. Many of these children will not be able to have children when they grow old and get married. So our children are being, the entire generations are being destroyed with these toxic injections. And this vaccine passport system is the end of democracy, and that is why you see hundreds of thousands of people on the roads protesting against it in the Western countries, in Europe, in America, in Canada, in UK, in Australia, because they know that this vaccine passport or the medical passport system is the end of democracy. And India, we don't see those kind of protests because everything has been managed. The political theater has been managed, the media has been managed, the entire Republic of India, the judiciary has been managed, the legislature has been managed. Parliament is not discussing these things. Your legislative bodies in the states are not discussing these things. Nobody is discussing the agenda. They are discussing all kinds of nonsense, but not this fascist agenda of New World Order. Nobody is discussing that. So Indian democracy is gone now. The Republic of India is gone. Now what we have is a fascist state of the New World Order managed by these globalist criminals, not by Indians. So that is the situation now.
It's a very pathetic statement made by Mr. Kapil Bajaj. Every Indian should arouse now. See the US Supreme Court, what did it do? It passed an order. Now in US, there is no discrimination between vaccinated or unvaccinated. No one is listening there. Everyone is on the road. Likewise Europe. And you have seen this tennis star. He fought here. He says, I am already infected. Why the hell I need a vaccine and why should I produce something to you? And he was debarred from Australia. Though the first chance the court held, but after that they were united. It is all nothing but drama. But there are many protests going on in Melbourne also, from where he has been deported. No media shows it, as he clearly puts it. विश्व भर पूरा इसका विरोध हो रहा है. हम क्यों चुप है? हर एक नागरिक जो है एक संविधान है. हमारे जब हक छीने जा रहे हैं, हमको कोई समाचार नहीं है, ना पार्लियामेंट में, ना लोकसभा में या ना असेंबली विधानसभा में कोई इसके ऊपर चर्चा होती है. टीका के ऊपर चर्चा, महामारी के ऊपर चर्चा और हमारी ज़िंदगी के ऊपर चर्चा, लेकिन हमारे को डरा के धमका के ये वैक्सीन की जो महामारी के खिलाफ, जो अगर वैक्सीन टीका काम करता तो ये जनवरी 2021 में जब हम सहज रोग निरोधक शक्ति से सब कुछ खुश मंगल था, हमारा प्रधानमंत्री अचानक वैक्सीन की ये करे. और ये वैक्सीन 1 डोज 2 डोज अंडर ट्रायल और अंडर टेस्टिंग ही है, अत्यवसर परिस्थिति की जो सूचना देती है। इस बार आप कोरोना देख रहे, केवल राजनीतिक दल और हमारे सिनेमा परिश्रमी उन्हीं को आता है। अब वही लोग बोलते हैं आप जाके टेस्ट करवाइए, हमको डराया जा रहा है। इसीलिए आप क्यों डरना, सही समाचार आप ले लीजिए, क्योंकि आप अपने आप एक संविधान है, जीने का हक आपका है, जिस तरह की निवारण चिकित्सा आपका हक है। हम सही समाचार आपको देना चाहते हैं, हम सही समाचार आधार के साथ आपके सामने लगा रहे हैं। किस तरह की ये फाउंडेशन, हेल्थ पब्लिक फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया, बिल गेट्स या इस फंडिंग की किस तरह हमारे ऊपर ये ठोका गया, और किस तरह ये सब हमारे संविधान के जो भी संस्थाएं हैं उनको अपने लपेट में ले लिया, और हमको कोई सही समाचार देते ही नहीं है। क्या ये हमारे हक नहीं है? क्या ये हमारे हक का उल्लंघन नहीं है? जिस तरह हमारे किसान भाई जो दिल्ली के बॉर्डर में 1 साल तक वहाँ बैठे, वहाँ कितने लोगों को कोरोना हुआ? दैट्स व्हाट वी हैव बीन डिमांडिंग सुप्रीम कोर्ट एंड हाई कोर्ट। डिड यू एवर टेक केस स्टडी ऑफ आवर फार्मर स्ट्राइक फॉर 1 year through cold summer without any physical distance, no masks? Then how is that you are imposing? वो एक हमारे सामने एक प्रत्यक्ष ये है। और आप भी देख रहे हैं उत्तर प्रदेश में लाखों के साथ रैली, और रात में हमारे आम आदमी के पार्टी के सीएम जाके वहाँ दिल्ली में कर्फ्यू। कहाँ है कोरोना? जब उनको कोरोना नहीं है, आम आदमी को कोरोना किस तरह होगा? और ये टीका, अगर टीका सही है, नष्ट परिहार क्यों नहीं दे रहा, और हमारे पैसे क्यों लगा रही सरकार? हमारा हक ये बनता है कि ये हमारा जीने का हक है, और जब हमारे पैसे से आप टीका की संयोजन कर रहे तो हमारा हक बनता है सुप्रीम कोर्ट से लेके हाई कोर्ट तक हमारी रक्षा करने का, क्योंकि हमारी पैसा और हमारी स्वास्थ्य, ये 2 चीज़ है। बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट इज इन्वेस्टिंग पब्लिक मनी। हर एक को ये मानना चाहिए कि आप इनकम टैक्स पे भी नहीं करें तो आप राइट फ्रॉम मैच बैग्स टू एवरीथिंग, आप जो भी खरीद रहे, विच एवर यू आर बाइंग, फ्रॉम मैच बैग्स टू एवरीथिंग, यू आर पेइंग टैक्स. So that tax money is being spent for these vaccines. That means it becomes our right. Why are you spending our money? Where is the emergency? If you are spending our money, why it could not stop transmission? Why Delta variant, now Omicron? Only vaccinated were allowed to fly in between countries. क्या ये failure नहीं है? Is it not a failure? Then why there is no liability and compensation? Supreme Court and High Court should answer that. Because you are not coming to the rescue of fundamentally the citizens of the country. Why still vaccines or mandates under emergency use authorization? Remove emergency use authorization. No public funding for that. Let these vaccine manufacturers be exposed to liability and compensation. If there is where are after effects being reported? There is no transparency and accountability. कई पारदर्शिकता है ही नहीं. इसीलिए आप संविधान है, आप सोचिए. हम सही समाचार आपको देना चाह रहे हैं, हम दे रहे हैं हमारे शोज के द्वारा. अतिथिगण काफ़ी कुछ आधार के साथ आपके सामने सब कुछ लगाए, और सोचना आपका जिम्मा है, और अच्छा एक सोच और आपका जीवन बचाने का. आपके बच्चों को तक नहीं छोड़ रहे ये लोग. बच्चों को भी आपको बचाना होगा. कब बचाएंगे आप? सही समाचार आधार के साथ, संविधान के तौर पर, हक के तौर पर, जब आपके पास ऐसा समाचार हो. वी आर प्रोवाइडिंग यू एवरी सिटीजन इज ए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अथॉरिटी. We are giving you correct information with wonderful guests, with all evidences, by making you understand the constitution with evidences as per rule of law of the land. So we have brought everything. Now it is up to you to think wisely and then take a decision so that you can save yourself, your family, your own children, and the society at large, so that your fundamental rights are never taken away, because right to life, right to health is your own right. Thank you, Mr. Kapil Bajaj. I hope International Court of Justice, so many cases are lined up there. Nuremberg Code is there. That is a death penalty for everyone. I only hope if governments are not coming, at least International Court of Justice, because Western countries, Europe हो या US, काफ़ी विरोध हो रहा है वहाँ पर. People have come onto the roads. In US, no one is following now, whether vaccinated or unvaccinated. It has been taken away. US Supreme Court also recently passed an order. And why our courts are still not coming to the rescue of innocent Indian citizens when the basic structure of constitution is being totally violated along with the fundamental rights, right to life and right to health. No transparency, no accountability except imposition by creating fear and panic. So take care. Thank you, Kapil Bajaj. Soon we'll have another roundup with you. We want you to
Thank you, Dr. Reddy.
be very regular on the shows. So for all Indians, I hope it will be Sukha Nidra and Shubharatri. Lot of information. Demand action. How these vaccines were employed amongst tribal girls in Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh. Rajya Sabha committee found them guilty. No action by any government. Awards are being given in competition by UPA and NDA to Bill Gates Foundation and all those. How can we tolerate all this? And then oral polio vaccine. How many have been paralyzed? And then the hip plant implants. So many evidences we are giving you. Now during this pandemic, after effects, where is it? If the vaccines were working, why still emergency use authorization? That too involving our public funds. The taxes paid by me. You are utilizing it under the name of emergency use authorization. That is why my right to question you. I hope only Supreme Court and High Court will understand. When you are spending my hard-earned money, my tax money, and when you are stating, imposing it is for my health, don't you think I should be aware? That awareness, that information, if they are not providing, and still these vaccines are being pushed under emergency use authorization without even conducting serological studies, antibodies, because when community transmission happens, herd immunity, through natural immunity, when every Indian citizen is going through that natural immunity, and we have been demanding out of 27,000 deaths every day, how many are really accounted under corona? What is the proof? Where is the post-mortem? Where is the autopsy report? How can courts also blindly follow the dictates by the governments and certify them as COVID deaths and just give 50,000? Is it not a fact that instead of insurance company paying huge amounts for those who have died for the insured other diseases, everything is related under corona and they are escaping? Not only that, the pharmacy, they are doing drug trials. Is it not a fact? WHO ever changing mandates. So all is there in the public domain and everyone is aware. I hope at least now the courts will come to the rescue of every Indian citizen. Sukha Nidra, Shubharatri to all Indians. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening to the world over. Thank you, Mr. Kapil Bajaj. Take care. Yeah. Bye.